My name is Lauren Carter. I'm 35 years old, own a small but successful photography studio in Boston, and today I've been mistaken 3 times for the wedding photographer at my own sister's wedding. I don't correct them. The venue is breathtaking. A lakeside resort tucked into the Vermont woods, framed by sweeping glass ceilings, orchid-lined pathways, and candlelit banquet halls so pristine they look airbrushed. It's the kind of place brides circle in magazines, the kind Ava used to say was for people with trust funds or fashion blogs. She got both the venue, the crowd, the illusion. I walk up the stone steps, smoothing the dark slate blue dress I spent too much time picking out simple, quiet, professional. The kind of dress you can blend into the background in. It matches the floral tones of the bridesmaids, which wasn't intentional. Not exactly, but I knew Ava would pick peonies and blush palettes. I know how she thinks, even when she forgets I exist. At the entrance, a young woman in a black suit greets me with a practiced smile. Her eyes skim down to the iPad in her hands. Name, please. Lauren Carter, I say, voice steady. She scrolls, pauses. Scrolls again, her brows knit just slightly. I don't see that name on the seating chart, she says, her tone too polite to be accusatory. I smile. That's fine, I'm just here to observe. She nods quickly, relieved not to deal with a confrontation. You're welcome to find a spot along the perimeter. Cocktail hour begins in 10. As I step into the hall, the first thing I notice is the light sun pouring in through the glass ceiling, catching the gold-rimmed champagne flutes and the ivory drapes. The second thing I notice is the screen 12 feet wide mounted in the middle of the room. It plays a looping montage of Ava's life. There's Ava in her ballet recital, tutu. Ava in Italy. Ava laughing with our parents on a ski trip I wasn't invited to. Every photo is one I took. I know because I remember the lighting setups, the angles, the post-processing choices. My watermark is gone, of course, replaced by a pale peach border and cursive title slide, The Story of Us. A guest brushes past me and murmurs, "The photographer really nailed it, huh?" I nod once. My camera bag sits at my side unopened. I find a small standing table near the window, just past the far column where the planners are huddled around a clipboard. I glance at it briefly. My spreadsheet format is unmistakable. Shaded totals, column codes, formatting quirks. Only I use. I designed those templates for my studio's event packages. Ava had asked to peek at them for ideas. I said sure, assuming she'd reference them, maybe replicate a few cells. She used the whole thing. And from the way the planner is reading it, Ava passed it off as her own. Across the room, Ava enters. She looks stunning. She always does in moments like these. Ivory silk gown, soft waves in her hair, a look of effortless charm like she doesn't even realize every camera has turned toward her. A lie, of course, but it's her favorite one. I watch as she greets a circle of guests, her fiancé's colleagues, former college roommates, neighbors I've only seen on holiday cards. She waves gracefully, holding her bouquet at just the right angle for photos. Her eyes sweep the room, land on me for the briefest second, then slide right past. Not a nod, not a smile, not even a flicker of acknowledgement. Behind me, someone calls out, "Hey, would you mind taking a quick shot of us?" I turn and see a couple holding up their phones. They must think I work the event. I shake my head gently. Sorry, I'm just here as a guest. They blink uncertain, then smile politely and retreat. Another guest at a nearby table catches part of the exchange and leans over. "Aren't you the one who did Ava's engagement photos? The vineyard ones?" I nod. "Gorgeous work. Everyone says you're a genius with natural light." "Thanks," I say. "She said she got a discount," the woman adds with a laugh, sipping her mimosa. Something about family perks. I smile, but it doesn't reach my eyes. There was no discount, there was no charge. I comped everything, the shoot, the travel, the hours of editing. Ava never asked. She just said, "You know I can't afford what you normally charge, right?" and sent me the Pinterest board. I glanced down at my phone. A single unread message from my assistant flagged an hour ago. Final vendor payments processed. Wedding account closed. Final invoice, unpaid. I closed the notification. Nearby, the wedding planner clips a checklist onto her clipboard. I catch a glimpse of the catering numbers, the AV rental sheet. Again, my design, my formatting. She flips to the next page, floral schedule. The delivery time matches the call I placed 2 weeks ago when Ava's florist threatened to back out without payment. I stare across the room again. Ava is laughing now, posing for a photo with one of our aunts. My parents hover close, beaming. No one looks for me, no one waves. And still I don't move. The glass above shimmers with light. I catch my reflection in the window behind the projector. Half shadow, half smile, the photographer who never appears in her own frame. That's the story of this day. That's the story I built. And that's the part no one here remembers. Not yet. The first time I paid one of Ava's bills, I was 24. She was 19, had just dropped out of her second college in less than a year, and called me from a gas station in New Jersey crying because her debit card kept declining. Her voice cracked through the phone like a small emergency, breathy and urgent. "Can you send something?" she whispered. "I just need enough to get home." It was $75. I didn't think twice. The next time it was her rent 3 months behind after she lost another job, then a speeding ticket, a bounced check. Her first car was wrecked after she rear-ended a delivery van in a Whole Foods parking lot. I paid the deductible. Our parents called it just a hiccup. They always did. Ava's setbacks were framed as stumbles, small ones, the kind everyone makes. When I stumbled, it was different, but I rarely did. That was the problem. She was the bright one, the charming one, the creative spirit who just hadn't found her lane yet. I was the reliable one, the spreadsheet, the backup plan. I remember sitting across from my parents the week I signed the lease for my first studio I had saved for 3 years while freelancing every weekend and editing late into the night. I was proud of the space. Sunlight poured in through wide factory windows, and the wood floors creaked under the weight of everything I'd built alone. They looked at the photos I showed them with polite interest. My mother smiled and said, "That's lovely, honey. Ava might want to use that space for her jewelry pop-up this summer. Wouldn't that be perfect?" It wasn't a question. That summer, Ava's jewelry business failed after 2 weeks. When I turned 30, they forgot to call. Both of them, I got a voicemail the next morning from my father saying, "We've just been so busy getting Ava's loan paperwork sorted. You know how things pile up." I knew. The missed birthdays, the forgotten milestones, the small slights, they didn't hit like bricks. They landed like paper cuts, quiet, frequent, and easy to explain away. But over time, they stacked. There was a photo on the wall in our childhood home, a Christmas snapshot. Ava was maybe 16 wearing that red sweater she used to love. I was behind her, partially cropped out, holding the camera. No one ever replaced it. No one seemed to notice. I did. When Ava decided to open a bakery, she asked me for help with branding. I gave her everything: logo design, business cards, signage. I even shot the launch photos free of charge and drove up to Maine to do it. The bakery closed 6 weeks later. She called me the day it folded and said, "I guess you were right. I'm not cut out for this." I hadn't said a word. Still, I transferred $500 to help cover the final utility bill. After a while, my support became expected. Not requested, not appreciated, assumed. Ava stopped thanking me. My parents did too. I kept track of it all. Not in bitterness at first, more like quiet bookkeeping. There was a drawer in my studio bottom, right where I filed away every receipt: floral transfers, car repair invoices, tuition supplements. The labels were neat and dated. The balances were never paid. Once Ava gave me a thank you card for helping her get her website set up, I opened it weeks later. Inside was a blank white interior, no writing, she'd forgotten to fill it out. I kept it. When I told my parents I was nominated for a local business award, something our community board gives each year to women in entrepreneurship, my mother responded with, "Oh, that's wonderful. Ava's thinking about applying to a ceramics program this fall. It's in Italy." Of course it was. She went. And yes, I helped cover the flight. Just a little help, she'd said. Just a bridge until her scholarship cleared. It never did. I still have the voicemail. I listened to it last month alone in my apartment, just after booking a new gallery shoot for a nonprofit campaign. Ava's voice was soft, almost sweet. "Can you spot me again? Just this once. I'll Venmo you when my refund hits." It didn't. What made it all harder was that she believed it. I don't think Ava saw herself as taking from me. In her mind, I was just helping as sisters do. In our parents' eyes, I was doing what the responsible child should do. It was honorable, unquestioned. I had more, so I gave more. That was the arrangement. Except I didn't have more. I worked longer, I slept less, I budgeted, I sacrificed. And the more I did, the less they saw. I never expected applause, but some part of me hoped quietly that they'd see it someday, that maybe Ava would land on her feet and remember who caught her mid-fall. Instead, this wedding became the latest stage, the costliest. And the same play is playing out. I'm in the background, the helper. The one who doesn't need credit, the one who pays for the flowers and gets seated by the exit. The one who took the pictures and was written out of the frame. That's what hurts, not the money, not even the silence. It's knowing that they never even considered I might feel it, that it might matter. It's knowing I'll never get a thank you. And worse, knowing I stopped expecting one a long time ago. A guest stops me near the edge of the reception hall, his tie loosened and smile wide. "You're the photographer, right? You really nailed it. The vineyard shots, the close-ups, just incredible." I nod faintly. The slideshow behind him loops again, glowing on the far wall. Ava as a little girl in a field of yellow tulips. Ava and her fiancé at the vineyard. Ava looking over her shoulder in a white lace dress during golden hour, the hem just brushing the dirt road. Every photo on that screen is mine. I remember the day of the pre-wedding shoot. Ava had called last minute, asked if I could do it as a favor. Her regular photographer canceled. She said I'd already been handling half her vendor calls, so I just showed up. I didn't watermark the images because they were for family. I didn't charge because she was my sister. But watching them now, larger than life, framed in soft blush borders and sandwiched between titles like Ava's Journey, it hits me differently. There's no credit. Not once does my name appear. Another woman, one of Ava's college friends, sips her champagne nearby and says loudly, "She really pulled this off. So elegant, I don't know how Ava did it without a coordinator." I turn slightly. Behind her, the wedding planner adjusts a clipboard tucked under her arm. I recognize the format before I even see the columns. It's mine. Same header rows, same margin widths. I used that exact document for my studio's premium wedding clients. My eyes trail over the exposed pages as she walks past. There's a section labeled Vendor Contributions, with Ava's name written under the title line, Lead Coordinator. I walk to the far side of the room, past the dance floor, and sit at an empty table. I rest my hand on the wood cold from the air conditioning and try to breathe. My wine glass is still full. The bubbles have started to fade. For a moment, I just sit still. Then I pull out my phone. I open the folder I'd been avoiding since yesterday, Wedding Ledger Carter Events LLC. My business paid the following: $12,500 floral vendor deposit, $6,800 AV lighting and audio, $4 $200 catering overages. Ava asked me to hold the card just for final touches. $750 rental extensions for tinting and heating. $920 rush fee for printing signage and menus. $800 emergency backup generator. None of it has been reimbursed. Not 1 cent. All invoices were marked family contribution on Ava's handwritten notes with a smiley face drawn in the corner. The smiley face is what makes me pause. I remember the night she asked me to front the floral payment. "I'll pay you right after the honeymoon," she said, waving it off like it was nothing. "You know how these vendors are. If I wait, they'll ghost me." Now, guests are walking around admiring the wild roses, the fresh orchids strung along the trellis, the bouquet of peonies she requested. Even though they were out of season, I tracked down the only supplier in state who could deliver them on a week's notice. No one knows. I glance toward the champagne tower near the dance floor, crystal glasses stacked to the ceiling filled with rose gold bubbly. Ava's voice echoes from the other side of the room. "Isn't it perfect? We wanted something just a little extra." I remember that conversation too. She called me at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. "We just need a few fun elements. Something that photographs well. You have an eye for this stuff. Can you help?" I ordered the champagne, paid the shipping. She promised to Venmo me the next day. It never came. Another guest clinks her glass and gives a toast to Ava for designing this entire thing herself. A true, creative soul. They cheer. I smile gently, I fold my hands and rest them in my lap. Then I stand. I walk back toward the rear of the venue where the staff is prepping the dessert tables. No one stops me. I move like I belong here because, in a way, I do. I helped build it. Quietly, completely. Outside the hallway entrance, I spot the main binder left open on a chair. I flip to the back section. There it is again. A full vendor contact list, every name, every number. Next to each vendor's entry notes. Next to mine, sister no contract needed. The handwriting is Ava's. I close the binder and walk down the hallway past the gift table, past the guest book. The hallway smells like lavender, a scent Ava always associates with relaxed luxury. We used to share a room when we were kids. I liked vanilla. She told me vanilla was boring. Now she sells candles that smell like lavender fields. I step outside through the side entrance and sit on a stone bench facing the water. The lake ripples under a sky streaked with late afternoon gold. Ducks drift near the shore. The air is quiet. I pull out my phone again and open a text thread. Me. Can you send me the final ledger? Include the letterhead. My assistant replies instantly. On it. Should I include a breakdown by vendor? Me, yes, full breakdown. Also email a PDF copy to yourself and CC my personal account. Done. I sit back and breathe. The wedding is still happening behind me. Music, laughter, clinking glasses. They won't notice I'm gone. And if they do, they'll assume I'm capturing it from another angle. But I'm not. Not this time. The air is still outside. The lake stretches wide and quiet, a sheet of silver that mirrors the overcast sky. A few paper lanterns sway in the breeze, strung between the trees that frame the edge of the resort property. I sit on a stone bench set just off the walking path where the music from the ballroom fades to a low, forgettable thrum behind me. Here it feels like no one is watching. I cross my legs and rest my phone in my lap. For a while, I don't touch it. I just sit there listening to the rustle of leaves, the occasional splash of water. Someone laughs in the distance and it barely reaches me. The wedding continues and I'm no longer in it. Not really, I never was. This place is beautiful, almost painfully. So Ava always wanted something that looked effortless. I used to think it was her charm, that lightness she carried. Now I understand it better. Ava never wanted to build anything. She just wanted to arrive and have it waiting. Ready, perfect. Built by someone else. I unlock my phone. The wedding ledger opens on the screen, its columns crisp and clear against the soft morning gray still hiding beneath the afternoon sun. I scroll through the entries, slowly reading every line like it's a journal entry. In some ways, it is. $12,500 florals paid by my business card. 4,200 catering extensions after she decided she wanted 3 dessert tables. 6,800 AV rentals for uplighting sound and those massive gold letters spelling out their names on the dance floor. Each item is one I had touched, called In Negotiated Finalized. I remember doing it all from my studio late at night while editing wedding photos for other clients. I stayed up, made the bookings, tracked the timelines. Ava had sent me quick texts back then full of ellipses and hearts. Would you mind grabbing this one? You're amazing. Seriously, I owe you forever. At the time, it felt like affection. Now, as I scroll through the message thread, I see what it really was. Not a thank you, not even a request, just expectation dressed up as casual charm. I pause on a message from 8 weeks ago. Hey, can you put the deposit down for the tenting? 2. They won't take my card and you're already on file for the venue. I'll pay you back after the honeymoon promise. 2 exclamation marks. I remember reading it after a 12-hour shoot, exhausted and still holding my camera bag. I'd transferred the money before I even made dinner that night. I scroll further and start taking screenshots. Every promise, every unpaid bill, every emoji-laced ask that came without follow-through. It's not anger that moves me now. It's something smaller and sharper. Precision. I don't need to yell. I don't need to be dramatic. I just need to collect the truth, line it up, and make it impossible to ignore. I tap the folder icon and select each file, the ledger, the screenshots, the scanned invoices. Then I open my cloud drive, create a new folder, and title it Wedding Proof, Carter. I upload everything. A few feet away, the white wedding planner binder Ava used lies open on a bench left behind in the rush to toast and pose and sparkle. I glance at it. It looks heavy, messy. There are notes in different colors, scribbles along the margins. I spot a post-it with a list of vendor arrival times. It's in my handwriting. I photographed it anyway. I draft an email, attach the files, and send it to myself with a blind copy to my business email. Subject final backup message for records and confirmation. No further action yet. I press send. Then I sit back again, letting the breeze graze my cheek. The lake barely moves. It's like looking into a mirror too large to see yourself in. I used to think being useful was the only way to belong. If I was helpful, if I was quiet, if I made things easier, maybe they'd notice. Maybe I'd matter more. But usefulness without recognition isn't connection. It's just labor. Ava didn't forget to pay me back. She didn't forget to credit me. She never planned to. And my parents, they saw it happen. They saw what I gave, what I built. They chose not to see what it cost. There's a kind of grief in that, but also strangely a kind of peace. I stand up slowly and smooth my dress. I check my phone again. No new messages. I don't expect any Ava's too busy basking in the version of herself she thinks she created. The sky is clearing. Light breaks through the clouds and touches the surface of the water like a new promise. I slip the phone into my clutch and glance once more at the white binder. I leave it. I walk back toward the venue. Not as a guest, not as the photographer, not even as the sister of the bride. I walk back as the one who made this day possible. And the only one in that room who knows exactly what it cost. The reception hall is louder now, voices rising with the cocktail buzz, laughter coming easier under the glow of chandeliers and champagne. The sun has dropped below the trees, casting amber shadows through the high windows. String lights flicker to life across the ceiling. I step back in quietly, unnoticed. There's a shift inside me, no longer the tension of waiting to be seen, just the weightless clarity of someone who no longer needs to be. The planner is at the far corner of the room, flipping through a set list for the DJ. I approach, slowly clutching the small matte black USB in my hand. "Hi," I say, keeping my voice light. "I was wondering if you could play this before the toasts. It's a surprise." She hesitates, glancing at me for the first time as something other than a vendor or background extra. Her eyes flick down to the USB. Is it another montage? Sort of, I say, but it's part of the day, just a different lens. She nods and takes the drive. I'll cue it after Ava's aunt finishes speaking. Is that okay? Perfect. I step back, disappearing once again into the periphery. My place. My favorite place once. The planner disappears into the tech booth beside the stage. A soft announcement calls everyone to attention. Glasses are filled. Chairs scrape lightly against the polished floor. Toasts will begin in just a moment, the planner says, smiling broadly from the mic. But first, the bride has one more surprise moment to share with you all. Applause ripples through the room. People settle into their seats. Some guests lift their phones again, ready to film what they assume will be another round of childhood photos or a sweet engagement recap. The lights dim. The projector hums to life. But the first image is not of Ava. It's of me, my hands specifically carefully unboxing a set of crystal glassware in an empty reception hall 3 weeks earlier. The next frame me adjusting floral centerpieces, triple-checking name tags on a diagram. Then another me on the phone, clipboard in hand, standing outside a delivery truck at the venue's rear entrance. There's no music. Only a voiceover, steady, calm, professional. My assistant's voice. This wedding was brought to life by Lauren Carter Photography LLC. From concept to execution, Lauren arranged vendor negotiations, design consultations, delivery management, and paid all final deposits for catering, floral rentals, and lighting services. Another clip plays me writing a check, signing a rental invoice, walking through a fabric showroom with samples under one arm. The guests grow still. The voice continues quiet but unwavering. Total unpaid contributions made by Lauren Carter, $38,670, labor provided 109 hours uncompensated. Then comes the side-by-side shot, Ava posing with the floral arch, me 2 weeks earlier holding a zip tie and securing the same arch in the rain. More murmurs ripple through the room now. A few people shift in their seats. Heads turn. Ava, standing near the stage, hasn't moved. On screen, another slide appears. A table, a champagne tower, and behind it, me again, wearing gloves, checking the glass levels, tapping my phone to confirm the shipment. There are no accusations, no dramatics, just facts. Frame after frame, and then the final slide. White background, black text. For the woman you mistook as hired help, thank her before you toast. The screen fades to black. Silence stretches across the room. No clapping, no music, no polite laughter. I walk forward slowly. I feel the floor beneath each step, the soft tap of my shoes against the marble, the stillness of the moment folding around me like breath held too long. I pass Ava's friends, their smiles frozen. I pass my uncle jaw slightly open. I pass my mother hands tight around the stem of her wine glass. She doesn't speak. I stop near the back of the room where my clutch waits on a small table beside a pillar. I pick it up and turn once, glancing at the stage. Ava is still standing there, the mic in her hand. Her face is pale. Her lips part as if she might say something, but nothing comes out. Her fiancé, Ethan, leans toward her, whispering something. She doesn't answer. She just stares at the projector as if expecting it to change the ending. I clear my throat once, just loud enough for those nearest to hear. I hope the day was everything you planned. It's not cruel, not bitter, just true. Then I turn and walk toward the door. I don't look back, I don't need to. Behind me, the silence stays intact. There are no gasps, no apologies. No one rushes to stop me. No one asks me to stay. And that, I think, is its own kind of freedom. Outside, the cool air hits my arms and the scent of lake water fills my chest. The stars are just beginning to show above the treetops. I breathe in once fully. Then I keep walking, not faster, not slower, just forward. 2 weeks later, the silence feels different. It's no longer the cold, hollow quiet of being ignored. It's chosen now, intentional, nourishing. I'm sitting inside a glass-walled greenhouse on the edge of Cambridge, just outside Boston, surrounded by morning light and the soft scent of soil. The world outside hums with traffic and conversation, but here all I can hear is the steady drip of the irrigation system and the occasional rustle of a leaf catching breeze. The vine in front of me is climbing slowly. You can see its progress if you sit long enough. Tiny green tendrils searching for something to hold on to, then wrapping around a line and pulling itself higher. I smile at that, I know the feeling. The property is part garden, part conservatory. The building attached to it, a small brick structure with high ceilings and open beams, has been vacant for a year. I found it online 2 days after the wedding in the quiet aftermath and scheduled a tour before I could second-guess myself. It used to be a florist's shop. I plan to turn it into a second studio space. This time, I won't let anyone else's name tag along. A folded notebook rests in my lap, half filled already with sketches, vendor quotes, lighting layout ideas. I thumb through the pages, stopping on one where I've written out a list of intentions, not goals, just truths. No shared billing, no quiet edits behind the scenes, no favors without boundaries. My phone buzzes on the bench beside me. I don't check it. I already know the pattern. Calls from Ava spaced out now first. Urgent, then apologetic, then bitter. A message from my mother that just says, "Can we talk?" 2 missed calls from my father that I know are not about reconciliation, but about reputation. I let the phone sit there face down. The video from the wedding circulated faster than I expected. One of Ava's former co-workers, I think, posted it to their Instagram story the night of the reception. By the next morning, it was being reshared, clipped, dissected. Sister exposes bride. Mid-wedding was the tabloid angle, of course, but the version that resonated more was simpler. She made the whole wedding and they almost forgot she existed. I've had 3 podcast invitations, 2 blog interview requests, and a full-page feature coming out in a local business journal next month. Not because I shouted, but because I didn't. Because the work spoke. Because I let it. There's a kind of justice in that. Not loud, not viral for its own sake, but steady earning background inch by inch. I open my notebook again and pull out a folded letter tucked into the back pocket. It's a resignation notice one I wrote yesterday, addressed to a long-term client I've quietly tolerated for years. The kind that asked for constant discounts because we've worked together so long, the kind that gave referrals only if I stayed invisible. I signed it with a steady hand. I'll deliver it on Monday. The studio doesn't need them anymore. I don't need them. I've been booking work steadily since the wedding. Not all weddings, either editorial campaigns, museum partnerships, collaborative exhibitions with artists who actually respect the people behind the lens. It feels good to say no now. Not with anger, but with clarity. I say no because I want to, because I know what yes will cost me. A shadow crosses the path outside the greenhouse, a gardener in a wide-brimmed hat carrying a tray of small potted herbs. We nod to each other through the glass. I close my notebook and rise, slowly stretching my legs. The wooden floor beneath me creaks softly with each step. I walk toward the door, then pause, turning back once to glance at the vine again. Still reaching, still climbing. Outside, the path winds through a small stretch of garden lined with soft stone and patches of lavender, rosemary, and thyme. It smells familiar, like something quiet and old and true. I walk slowly, savoring it. My phone is still buzzing somewhere inside. It can wait. The gravel crunches under my shoes as I reach the edge of the property where a low bench sits beneath an arch of jasmine. I sit, pull out my notebook again, and flip to a blank page near the middle. Then slowly I write. This time it starts with me. Let me tell you something I've learned, something I lived for years before I ever put words to it. It's easy to disappear when you're the one holding everything together. When you're the helper, the fixer, the one people call in the middle of the night, not to ask how you're doing, but to ask what you can do for them, it becomes normal to be needed and forgotten at the same time. You become the scaffolding, the wiring behind the walls. Necessary, invisible. I used to confuse being helpful with being seen. I used to think that if I showed up every time someone needed me one day, they'd look up and really see me standing there, not just for what I could do, but for who I was. It took me longer than I'd like to admit to realize that sometimes the people closest to you aren't blind. They're just comfortable. Comfortable letting you do the heavy lifting while they take the credit. Comfortable letting your loyalty double as your silence. That wedding. My sister's wedding wasn't the beginning. It wasn't the moment of betrayal. It was the moment everything I already knew became too loud to ignore. I won't rehash the details here. You've heard them already. What matters is what came after. A few days ago, I opened a box in my closet. It was one of those shallow keepsake boxes I'd packed away years ago, back when I still held on to paper memories I didn't have the courage to let go of. Inside were a few birthday cards, a crumpled program from Ava's college graduation, a ribbon from a childhood art show we both entered. She won, of course I placed. Tucked between 2 cards was the thank you note she gave me for helping her start her bakery years ago. I'd kept it for reasons I didn't understand. Then I thought it would feel like love if I just waited long enough. I opened it again. Still blank inside. I didn't cry. Not this time, I just smiled. Set it aside and took out something else, a stack of my new business cards. They're simple, matte white, clean lettering. No tagline, no company name, just mine. Lauren Carter. And that's enough. I think sometimes we believe that if we draw a boundary, we're breaking something. That if we say no, we're ending a relationship. But what I've come to understand is this drawing a boundary doesn't end a relationship. It ends the performance of one. And that performance was exhausting. It's not that I stopped loving my family. I didn't. I just stopped negotiating myself down to stay in their orbit. I stopped measuring my worth by how easy I could make their lives. I stopped handing over my time, my skills, my money, just to be remembered. They've reached out. My mother sent a long email titled, "Let's fix this." Ava texted me a photo of us as kids. My father left a voicemail saying, This has gone far enough. But no one said sorry. Not really. No one asked what it cost me. They only asked what it would take to make it stop. And that's the difference. Forgiveness isn't always about reunion. Sometimes it's about release. I forgive them, truly, but I forgive them for myself not to open the door again. My peace is not a reward they can reclaim. It's mine, and I intend to protect it. Above my desk now hangs a framed quote I printed it the day after I signed the lease for the new studio. It says, "Build where you are seen." Simple, unadorned. But when I read it every morning, I feel steady. Because that's what I'm doing now. I'm building, not to prove anything, not to be chosen, just to live in the full space of who I am without shrinking to fit someone else's shadow. I still take photos, still run my business, but now every decision I make, every shoot I accept, every project I say no to is filtered through a single question. Does this make me smaller? If the answer is yes, I walk away. Not because I'm angry, because I'm done performing gratitude for people who confuse my generosity for obligation. I wish someone had told me earlier that it's okay to stop giving when no one's pouring anything back. But maybe I needed to learn it the hard way. Maybe I needed that moment of clarity standing in a room full of people clapping for a performance I orchestrated, realizing I wasn't even listed in the credits. Maybe that was the point. So if you're listening to this and you've been the one behind the curtain, the one who always shows up but never gets a seat, let me say this to you. You are not selfish for choosing rest. You are not dramatic for wanting to be acknowledged. You are not cold for walking away from people who only love the version of you that gives endlessly. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to build something new. You're allowed to be seen. And you don't need permission. The difference between being used and being needed is how long you let it go unspoken. I found my voice, and I'm keeping it. Lauren's story is not just about a wedding. It's about what happens when someone spends years giving without being seen, and what it takes to finally choose yourself. Through silence, she carried the weight of her family's needs, believing that being helpful would one day earn her a place. But when the moment came and her work was claimed without recognition, she didn't scream. She stepped forward with truth. This is the quiet strength so many carry. The strength to walk away, to protect your peace, to build even when no one claps. If you have ever felt invisible while holding everything together, know this. Your worth was never tied to their acknowledgement, and sometimes the boldest act is simply to stop shrinking. If this story spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and follow for more powerful stories. Like this one. You are not alone.